Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the intricacies of military history's most pivotal battles. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore one of the most decisive conflicts in medieval European history, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa. This epic clash, fought on July 16, 2012, marked a turning point in the struggle between Christian kingdoms and the Moorish forces that had dominated the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. As we set the stage for this dramatic confrontation, let's journey back to the early 13th century, a time of great upheaval in the Iberian Peninsula. The region was a complex tapestry of Christian kingdoms, including Castile, Leon, and Aragon, vying for power and territory against the Moorish Emirates, which had controlled much of the peninsula since the 8th century. The city of Toledo, once the capital of the Visigothic kingdom, had fallen to the Moors in 711 but was recaptured by Christian forces in 1085. This victory marked a significant shift in the balance of power, as Christian kingdoms began to push southward, driven by a desire to reclaim lost territories and spread their faith. One key figure in this struggle was King Alfonso VIII of Castile, who ruled from 1158 to 1214. Alfonso was a skilled military leader and a shrewd politician who had formed alliances with other Christian kingdoms and the Holy Roman Empire. He was determined to drive the Moors out of the Iberian Peninsula and unite the warring Christian kingdoms under his rule. In contrast, the Moorish forces were led by Caliph Muhammad al-Nasir, who ruled the Almohad Empire from 1119 to 1213. The Almohads were a powerful and influential dynasty that had risen to power in North Africa and Spain, and were known for their military prowess and cultural achievements. The months leading up to the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa were marked by a series of skirmishes and raids between Christian and Moorish forces. In the spring of 1212, Alfonso VIII launched a successful campaign against the Moorish-held city of Baeza, which fell after a brief siege. This victory not only boosted the morale of the Christian army, but also provided them with valuable experience in siege warfare. Meanwhile, Caliph Muhammad al-Nasir was busy mobilizing his own forces, drawing troops from across his empire, including North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula. The historical context of this battle is crucial to understanding its significance. The early 13th century was a time of great change and upheaval in Europe, with the rise of powerful nation-states, the growth of trade and commerce, and the spread of new ideas and technologies. The Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa was not an isolated event, but rather part of a larger struggle that would shape the course of Spanish history. It was also closely tied to the broader context of the Crusades, which had been ongoing for over a century, as Christian forces sought to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. The stage was set for a clash of epic proportions as two powerful armies converged on the sun-scorched plains of Las Navas de Tolosa. The Christian army, led by King Alfonso VIII of Castile, was a formidable force, comprising knights from across Europe, including France, Germany, and Italy. These heavily armored warriors were supported by infantry from the Christian kingdoms of Spain, as well as archers and crossbowmen who would play a crucial role in the battle to come. The army was also bolstered by the presence of Templar and Hospitaller knights, who brought their military expertise and martial prowess to the battlefield. In contrast, the Moorish forces, led by Caliph Muhammad al-Nasir, were a diverse and multicultural army, drawing troops from across the Almohad Empire. The Moors were skilled warriors, renowned for their lightning-fast cavalry and their use of innovative tactics, such as the feigned retreat where they would pretend to flee, only to lure their enemies into a trap. They were also supported by infantry from the cities of Al-Andalus, including Granada, Cordoba, and Seville. As the two armies faced each other on the plains of Las Navas de Tolosa, the air was thick with tension. The Christians, arrayed in a dense formation with their knights at the forefront, presented a formidable wall of steel to the Moors. The Moors, meanwhile, deployed their cavalry on the flanks, with their infantry holding the center. The stage was set for a clash of epic proportions, as these two armies, each with its own unique strengths and weaknesses, collided in a frenzy of steel and blood. The battle began with a series of skirmishes between the Christian knights and the Moorish cavalry. The Moors, using their speed and agility, launched a series of lightning-fast attacks on the Christian flanks, hoping to disrupt their formation and create an opening for a decisive blow. However, the Christians held firm, their armor and discipline allowing them to withstand the Moorish onslaught. As the battle raged on, the Christian infantry began to make its presence felt, pushing forward with pikes and shields to pin down the Moorish infantry. The archers and crossbowmen, meanwhile, poured a hail of arrows and bolts into the Moorish ranks, causing heavy casualties and disrupting their formation. The Moors, however, refused to yield, fighting valiantly as they sought to hold back the Christian tide. The turning point of the battle came when the Christian knights, led by King Alfonso VIII, launched a series of charges against the Moorish center. The Moors, exhausted and depleted by the relentless Christian onslaught, began to waver, their formation breaking under the pressure. The Christians, sensing victory within their grasp, pressed their advantage, pushing forward with renewed energy and determination. As the Moorish army began to flee, the Christians pursued them, cutting down any who stood in their way. The battle was fierce and intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, in the end, it was the Christians who emerged victorious, having secured a crushing defeat over the Moors. The aftermath of the battle was marked by a sense of jubilation among the Christian forces. King Alfonso VIII, hailed as a hero by his troops, had secured a major victory that would have far-reaching consequences for the Iberian Peninsula. The Moors, meanwhile, were forced to regroup and reassess their strategy, their power and influence in the region significantly diminished. We've explored the military strategies employed by both sides, including the use of cavalry, infantry, and archery, as well as the importance of siege engines and fortifications. The Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa marked a significant turning point in the Reconquista, the centuries-long struggle by Christian kingdoms to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Moorish rule. The crushing defeat of the Moors at Las Navas de Tolosa weakened their grip on the region, creating an opportunity for Christian kingdoms to expand their territories and consolidate their power. One of the most notable consequences of the battle was the rise of the Kingdom of Castile, which emerged as a dominant force in the Iberian Peninsula. King Alfonso VIII, hailed as a hero after his victory at Las Navas de Tolosa, played a key role in expanding Castile's borders and establishing it as a major power in the region. The kingdom's influence extended beyond the battlefield, with Castilian culture, language, and architecture spreading throughout the peninsula. The battle also had significant implications for the city of Toledo, which was recaptured by Christian forces in 1085. The city became a center of learning and culture, attracting scholars and intellectuals from across Europe. The Toledo translation movement, which emerged in the 12th century, saw scholars such as Gerard of Cremona and Robert of Kedon translating Arabic texts into Latin, introducing European scholars to the works of Aristotle, Ibn Sina, and other prominent Islamic thinkers. The cultural exchange between Christian and Moorish cultures was a complex and fascinating phenomenon. As Christian kingdoms expanded their territories, they encountered a rich and sophisticated Moorish culture that had developed over centuries. The Moors introduced Christians to new technologies, such as the astrolabe and the compass, which revolutionized navigation and exploration. They also shared their knowledge of medicine, astronomy, and mathematics, which had a profound impact on European thought. However, the cultural exchange was not without its tensions. As Christian kingdoms consolidated their power, they often imposed their own culture and language on the conquered territories, suppressing Moorish customs and traditions. The reconquered cities were frequently repopulated with Christians, leading to the displacement of Moorish communities and the erosion of their cultural identity. The eventual expulsion of the Moors from the Iberian Peninsula was a gradual process that spanned centuries. The final blow came in 1492. When Ferdinand and Isabella, the Catholic monarchs, conquered the Kingdom of Granada, the last remaining Moorish stronghold on the peninsula. The Alhambra Decree, issued in 1492, ordered the expulsion of all Jews and Muslims from Spain, marking the end of a centuries-long period of cultural coexistence. In conclusion, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa was a pivotal moment in Spanish history, marking a significant shift in the balance of power between Christian kingdoms and Moorish emirates. The long-term consequences of this conflict were far-reaching, shaping the course of the Reconquista, the rise of Christian kingdoms, and the cultural exchange between Christian and Moorish cultures. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography, reminding you to keep marching toward victory.